Welcome to the Nourishment Mindset Podcast, your guide to good food, good health, and a good life. And now, here's your host, Nutrition Network advisor and author of The Nourishment Mindset, Dixie Huey.
Transformation Tuesday, y'all. Welcome to or back to the Nourishment Mindset Podcast. Here, we are on a metabolic mission to help you achieve or regain your vitality using three things: real whole foods, straight talk, and the pleasures of the table. First, I'll start with a thank you to those who have recently bought my book, The Nourishment Mindset, which y'all can find on Amazon just by searching for Nourishment Mindset, Dixie Huey, or going to my website for a complimentary signed copy. That's favorfat.com. You'll see it all there. So today, our main topic is going to be surviving the holidaze. That's D-A-Z-E. If you're not watching the video, you're just listening on your favorite podcast platform or the Substack act. But before we get into how to survive and navigate the holidays, I would like to bring up a few things. So, this is a crazy news cycle, right? We're a week out from the election as this podcast will air, and I will definitely stay away from politics with one exception. I just want to admit I am really happy. I'm thrilled. I'm overjoyed that metabolic health has received some attention. This is not a partisan issue. Our health is something that we all need to value, and we can all do better. So just the fact that we have people talking about this, that it's on stage, so to speak, literally and figuratively, as I said, really thrills me. And regardless of what you think of Mr. RFK Jr., he is beating this drum with a metabolic health message. I'm sure we all have people in our lives that maybe we agree with them on one thing and perhaps not on another. Maybe in your own household. My goodness, I certainly don't believe everything my husband does, and Fletcher's starting to get his personality and his ideas. But to me, I really appreciate the fact that RFK is talking about this. And I'm very hopeful that we will see improvements there. So I have long been a fan also, before any of this, before I even became a health coach, of the organization founded by Nina Teicholz, who is now Dr. Teicholz. It's called the Nutrition Coalition. And this organization, a nonprofit, was founded simply to demand, I would even say, that the U.S. Dietary Guidelines Committee free itself from conflicts of interest and look at the myriad of studies done on therapeutic carbohydrate restriction, which can drastically help improve metabolic health. And sadly, it sounds like this most recent revision, and I'm doing air quotes if you're not watching the video, is going to be pretty much the same old shit. So that is disappointing, but the Nutrition Coalition continues to advocate to appoint people to that committee that are free from conflicts of interest. Right now, it's not so good, and they're doing the same old stuff because a lot of these folks have conflicts of interest in the realm of big food. So the ultra-processed foods that we know are damning for metabolic health, I call them metabolic wrecking balls. These are the companies, which, by the way, were bought up by cigarette companies as soon as the sort of anti-smoking tide turned. And, well, this is what we have now. So just know that when the next dietary guidelines come out, there's still going to be BS, and just basically avoid doing what these folks say. Real whole foods, that's the number one deal. If you have metabolic issues, therapeutic carbohydrate restriction can be very, very helpful in dealing with that. And there we have it. But maybe things will get better. I'm hopeful. So my subscribers are going to have a link to an opinion piece that talks about what RFK is doing. So if you want to get more into those details, you should go to favorfat.substack.com. This is where you can subscribe if you are not yet a subscriber, because I always have like a fine read, a recipe. This month's recipe is what I affectionately call redneck risotto. So you'll have to subscribe to see what that is. And I like to also feature what I call fine finds. That might be anything from a product to something else, a kitchen utensil. This week's fine find is called Buddha tea. So I picked this up at a Sprouts market in Naples. We do not have one close to where I live, but I'm up there a lot these days. This is a CBD chamomile tea. Buddha tea has all kind of different teas if you're not into CBD, which I barely know anything about CBD, but I saw it and I was like, that looks really cute and it's organic and what the heck, I'm going to try it. And oh my goodness, I wouldn't have bought it if it had natural flavors, which y'all are BS. Natural flavors are anything but natural. Organic, as I said. I drank it before bed a few nights, and oh my goodness, I slept so soundly. Sleep is very important to me. It's been a big priority for me this year. And having my evening routine, which I've talked about in past podcasts. But this little sucker, oh my goodness. One day, a couple weeks ago, I slept so hard. I had accidentally set my alarm. That's user error, but I misset my alarm. But normally I'm just up about 5:45. I need to be up by 6 during the week. I woke up at 7:12. And I didn't get up at all during the night. So what was the change that I made? I was still doing the blue blocking glasses, taking my magnesium, not doing blue light before bed, all of the things that I said I've talked about before. But this little CBD tea just knocked me on my tush. So make sure if you decide to try Buddha tea, and again, I just tried the chamomile, I really like it, to set your alarm correctly, because otherwise you may find yourself getting your child, if you have a child, school-age child, to school late, which is what happened in my household. So there we have it. It was worth it for the really good night's sleep, I got to say. So now I just have to remember to incorporate it into my evening practice. And just the flavors, I'm going to sound like I'm describing a wine here, but the chamomile, just a very light floral, a very smooth texture. It's really a beautiful tea. So as I said, maybe you don't want to do the CBD evening tea, but maybe you like to drink tea or you want to try tea. They have a lot of stuff. They've got buddhatea.com. So, or it might be Buddha teas, but you can find them. Use Mr. Google machine. So I mentioned my redneck risotto and my fine recipe of the month. So you subscribers have it. And if you want it, as I said, favorfat.substack.com. Before I dive into our topic today about the Holi-daze, I would be remiss if I didn't remind y'all, or maybe you're a new listener and you haven't heard this spiel before, but you can do your holiday gifting through moi. I did a number of these last year. It was really fun. People sent me their list. They told me what they wanted me to write, or they just said, just sign the book. I usually have a be nourished, santé to your health message. But some people wanted me to customize it, and I wrapped those books with a cute little bow, tied a bow on it, and put them in the mail free of charge, free wrapping, free shipping. And I had one gal actually give me her holiday card to stick in there. So it was a turnkey operation for the gift list. So if that's of interest to you, pop on over to favorfat.com and just send me an email, or you can reach me on any of the social sites to do the same. All right, the Holi-daze, D-A-Z-E. So I want to talk today, of course, about nutrition, because that's my jam, but also just mindset. So Here this week, we have Halloween, which is so fun when you have kids. Just it brings me back to my own childhood. Of course, you have all the garbage food, again, air quotes, that comes with that. I try with Fletcher to, I don't want to demonize Halloween. I don't want to take the fun out of everything. So, yes, we go trick or treating. Yes, he gets candy. He doesn't go nuts, though. A few years ago, he ate too much Halloween candy and felt awful and ended up basically throwing away the rest of his loot, so to speak. So he knows to keep it real. I might find myself with a little baby Snickers or two, but I certainly don't go crazy. I'm the dietitians who are trained traditionally will say, oh, everything in moderation, balance, blah, blah, blah. No, I cannot agree with that because the vast majority of our food supply and our fats that we eat, which are so nourishing to the body and the brain. That's why I called my company Favor Fat, by the way. But you got to favor the right fats. So those of you that have been listening know that I love to shit on seed and vegetable oils every episode. So here it is. You can't do everything in moderation these days because the food manufacturers have taken largely the healthy natural fats out of the food. So for example, and this is a restaurant, again, air quote chain. McDonald's used to fry its fries in beef tallow. Hooray. But now it's shitty seed oil. So we can't do moderation because we're going to get a ton of inflammatory PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids. And these are little metabolic wrecking balls. So when I say moderation, I don't mean to have a bit of this, have a bit of that every day. I mean, on Halloween, have a piece of candy if you want to. But then let's move on and let's certainly not take Halloween and just do a free for all through the end of the year. Because then you're going to have a massive food hangover, in addition to any other kinds of hangovers. So you can have a financial hangover at the end of this season. So my number one thing here is mindset. Just as you would do if you are planning a significant investment to take a vacation, travel somewhere, you want to think about how you want to spend your time. So I'm first advocating with the holidays, what do you want your mindset to be? And I'm not here to judge what's right or wrong, but I know in my life, I have always really disliked the hubbub, the stress that people create, particularly if they're someone's celebrating Christmas. And I really don't like how have already been seeing Christmas decor all over the place. I have been called the Grinch in my family. I'll take that honor, but it's not that I am anti-December holidays. To me, that's December. So I'm not going to be worrying about Christmas gifts and freaking out about stuff. I'm largely someone who's I live in the present. It's not that I don't think about the past, but I really try not to fret about the past, fret about the future, be here in the moment each day. And that's why Thanksgiving is my absolute favorite, because there's no stress. You just enjoy nourishing food, maybe a few bites of some less nourishing food, and then move on. So, your mindset. What's important to you? Maybe it's a big social time and that's what's important to you. Maybe you want to start saying no to some things because last year's holiday was way too stressed out and busy. For me, I already have this practice. If you don't yet have a calming daily practice, and I always say daily, but for me, honestly, it's about 6 days a week. I'll take a day off here and there. But I like to have my morning routine where I do some stretching, some physical therapy, some light yoga, and breath work. Hint or foreshadow. Next month's podcast is going to be all about breath work and what I learned at the Wise Traditions conference that I just returned from in Orlando, where breath work and breathing was one of my favorite talks. So more on that later, but something that can be very helpful for people during this time of year as we have more events and more to do is to really commit to something that is calming for you. It might be taking a walk. It might be sitting quietly. If you're not an official meditator, you can just sit and close your eyes and chill. That's, we'll call that redneck meditation to pair with my redneck risotto. And yes, by the way, this is real risotto. This ain't no cauliflower rice risotto. And yes, there are carbs in there. So, okay, maybe a couple times a month I make this for my family. It's delicious. It's stir, stir, stir. Speaking of meditation, it's sort of like culinary meditation. So, that mindset. So, most of us probably wouldn't look back in January and go, wow, I wish I had spent more or spent more time shopping, that sort of thing. So I mentioned the concept of a financial hangover. Maybe one of your things you want to think about is kind of a realistic budget. People that know me well know that when someone says, oh, what do you want for Christmas? Or, I always say, please donate to your favorite charitable organization. That's truly what I would like. I have everything I need. Some people just they really want to give, and I'm not going to fault them, but that instead of just saying no thanks on gifts, and if they don't have a charitable organization, I certainly have plenty that I can recommend, such as the Nutrition Coalition. Another one that I absolutely love, Heifer International. You can buy a woman in Africa a goat that she can use to run a business selling goat milk, goat cheese. So I love that one. So think about your kind of financial goals and begin with the end in mind. We're trying to avoid the financial hangover, avoid any other types of hangovers, food, etc. hangovers. So during this time of year, the other thing that I notice is big food is ready to help you because you are so stressed out and so busy and blah, 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 and we're perpetuating this nonsense. We all need to just sort of calm down and breathe. But they already make all of this stuff, but they really are promoting it during the holidays. So these like convenience trays, basically just prepackaged what I would call pricey platters. P-cubed, pre-packaged, pricey platters. And these always have seed oils in the dip if you're doing a veggie tray. There's usually flavorings, all kind of stuff. The flavored items too, the pumpkin spices, the peppermint. I know, again, back with the Grinch that my family has accused me of being, but all that stuff is not good for your body. It's not at all natural. You could do your own pumpkin spice latte. Just buy some holiday spice, or you can combine things like allspice, ginger. We don't need to like play into this convenience stuff. And that will actually save you money. So you can either spend more on your loved ones or donate more if you like that concept. So just remember that any of this prepackaged stuff is going to be ultra processed food. And so you're better off steering clear of it. It's not very hard to buy vegetables. You can even buy them pre-chopped and arrange them and make a quick dressing. I'll do a quick dressing in my next November newsletter, maybe some holiday dip themes. So let's think about the inevitable. This is the whole spirit of enjoyment and the spirit of holiday parties and that sort of thing. I have always gotten lots of questions and concerns often from clients regarding, what do I do at the office holiday party? What do I do at this? If you're just going to one holiday party, it's really not a big deal. It's one night, but often there are multiple social engagements. So just as I said, to think about the mindset you want to have for this holiday season to keep it from being a holidays season, think about what is a realistic indulgence. In the past, I've talked about it as a health bank account. You having a health bank account. Every time you do something positive for yourself, such as take the walk, get a good night's sleep, eat real whole foods, turn down something that we know is not healthy for us, lift weights, whatever it is, that's a deposit in your health bank account. Sometimes you have an indulgence, you have a withdrawal in your health bank account. So maybe that's that glass of wine, bite of, that little baby Snickers bar that I mentioned that comes out around Halloween. That's your little withdrawal. And we need to have a realistic idea of the withdrawals, because from I mentioned financial hangover. If you're doing withdrawals every day, multiple times a day, multiple times a week, you're not going to have a health savings account. You are going to deplete more than you invest in. So think about what makes sense. So if we get real and we show up at that holiday party, the number one thing, and I'm sure you've heard this before, we try not to shop starving, grocery shop starving. It's a good idea not to show up at a social event starving, because your brain is going to see all this stuff and you'll say, oh, I'll only have a bite, but you're hungry. You need to nourish yourself. So it's a really good idea on the day of a social gathering to nourish yourself. A lot of people would say, oh, save the calories, then you can enjoy yourself. I don't advocate that. I advocate eating a nourishing meal, at least one during the day, such as eggs, steak, whatever kind of protein that you like, with some veggies if you do that sort of thing. So show up nourished, show up filled with energy, and maybe take a look at what items are there. And instead of having a little bit of everything, ask yourself what on this selection table is really worth the indulgence. Is there something that, your grandmother contributed that's your favorite recipe? If my Aunt Hope were still alive and I were an event and she had her amazing homemade sourdough bread, I would have a little bit of that on the holiday. There are things that hold more value to us, but I don't need to go to, I'm going back in time to this spread of all my mother's family members where everyone's got something and have all of that. It's just not necessary. So think about what is worth it for you. And I think that's a better approach. And then you come home, you're feeling good. You had a little bit of indulgence, but now we're back to quote normal nourishment mindset focus. So let's summarize. Let's bring it to 4 things for the holidays, avoiding those days, DAZE days. Number 1, nourish thyself. This is what I was talking about when I said don't show up at the party hungry, but I mean this in a more holistic manner throughout this season. Get your sleep, get enough water, get some sunlight. It gets harder as the days get shorter, but even if it's a 10-minute walk around your office parking lot or something, parking farther away, we've all heard that one. Be outside in the sunlight. Set aside time to breathe. What a wonderful way to wake up. Instead of jumping out of bed at a loud alarm, I've got this awesome alarm clock that just sort of starts making the room brighter. And then it's a very soft sort of bird chirping sound. It will get louder if you ignore it. And you have to set it correctly for it to work. Hence my little mess up with the CBDT. But to get back to that, get your sleep. When you wake up, take a few deep breaths. Think of something that you're grateful for. Start your day off on a positive, present note. And protein, protein, protein. This is going to really help fill you up. It is the macronutrient, particularly if you're trying to build muscle or drop poundage. Very important. That being said, don't trim the fat off the meat. Do not throw away the egg yolks. That's where all the nourishing fat is. The protein is in the egg white. The beautiful yolk has many, many nutrients. You want to eat whole, intact foods. So nourish thyself. Have some protein, especially before a party. Number 2 is that health account game plan. So let's think about specifics in terms of making those deposits. 7 or more hours of sleep a night, 6 glasses of water, depending on who you are, how big you are, before dinner. Try to work that in. Some sort of movement 3 to 5 days per week. And when you get stressed out, just a 5-minute close your eyes and breathe. It really, really makes a difference. We got to calm the nervous system, particularly when holidays stressors come up. The other thing that can be really helpful in this busier time of year is to have a quick menu plan. So, what do I mean? I recommend this to clients regardless if it's a busier time of year or not. But some go to quick meal options, some things you know that are nourishing, that are easy to create these meals. It can be, for example, Trader Joe's. A lot of pre marinated stuff is seed oil, so you have to be really careful. There's a couple of things there. Got to read those labels, such as their pesto chicken. This is a pre-marinated meat. I always prefer to do my own, but on our baseball nights when I'm getting home and I sometimes have only an hour to turn this around before we head back out, that is a real time saver. But as I said, just make sure if you're going to buy like a pre-marinated meat that it doesn't have seed oil. So you'll have to do some checking. Another great quick dinner is eggs or eggs and bacon. Slice up a tomato, grate some cheese over it. It's not just for breakfast, super, super easy to do. Another quickie that I used to do a ton when I was traveling a lot for work in the wine industry is just heating up some frozen veggies in a pan with some good olive oil and then cutting up some chicken sausage or even hot dogs, which are organ meat. Just make sure to buy organic, and topping with olive oil and salt and any other kind of spices you like. Super quick, one pan, easy, easy peasy. Also pre-chopped one pan meals. So maybe on a Sunday, if you're doing food prep, you can chop up a bunch of vegetables. You can lay that chicken sausage over it. Sometimes I'll even toss in like an apple if the apple's starting to, maybe it's not quite crisp enough for biting into, but it works fine in a roast. And you can just do a one pan roast with whatever protein and chopped up veggies. The other thing that Fletcher loves that he and I developed together is what we call cheeseburger casserole. So we've got, it's a little bit different than a cheeseburger, but we've got some chopped onions on the bottom. Usually we'll do red, yellow, orange, green peppers chopped in the bottom. I will quickly brown the meat on the stove before I put it in the pan, and then a ton of cheese grated over that with whatever spices and seasoning. Y'all have heard me talk about pluck. I love me some pluck. That is, in addition to Redmond real salt, it has organ meat. So very good. Micro dosing of organ meats. Great for your health. So coming up now, the ones that I gave, the examples I gave, that might not be your cup of tea. No problem. You can come up with your own quick meals. A little bit of advanced preparation goes a long way. So the fourth one's a little bit different than the preceding three. The fourth one is about the fact that it is okay to say no. And you know what? You don't even have to give a reason. I can't make it. I'm sorry. Some of you might want to say this out loud with me. I'm sorry. I can't make it. It can be really easy to get swooped up in the holiday rush and start just doing too much. And before you know it, it's January and you're absolutely exhausted. So, if whatever it is not your jam, it is fine to politely decline. Highly doubt you'll regret it. The other thing you can do is make a quick appearance because you've got to get to X or Y afterward. And X or Y might be fuzzy socks in a good book. We don't have to, as I said, make stuff up. We could just say, I've got something else I need to do, or, and just leave it at that. So just like in running a business, people will say, you've got to run your business. You don't want your business to run you. I think that really, I think that applies as well to the holiday season, right? Don't let the holidays season run you. Figure out, just spend a few minutes thinking about what's important to you, and then come up with your game plan of how you want that to look. And I really think that will help you have a more enjoyable, less stressful holidays, because after all, isn't it about spending time with those you love and nourishing yourself? All right, y'all, that's going to be a wrap. If you haven't yet bought the book, as I said in the beginning, favorfat.com for a complimentary sign and ship copy, or Amazon, just search for The Nourishment Mindset, Dixie Huey. You can find me on the social networks, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. You can also contact me to request a topic if you have a show idea. Some of my favorite shows have come from people who have suggested a topic, so I welcome that. Or if you just have a question, feel free to send it to me. My email is favorfat@gmail.com. And finally, if you want to invest in yourself and your own health, and you would like to do a coaching consult, you've got my email now if you didn't have it before. So we can have a quick 15-minute conversation and talk about how that works and give you an idea to see if that's something you would like to invest in for yourself. All right, y'all. Until the next time, be nourished and santé.